They always said, 3 cameras, clear. That was their favorite slogan, until it got them in deep trouble. In a big village, there lived many beautiful ladies. They were very classy and dressed luxuriously. Even though they lived in a village, they never looked like ordinary girls. Most of the village girls attended the most popular school, Gracious Hearts College. It was the biggest school in the village, and everyone did their best to gain admission. Being in that school meant being seen as intelligent, but more importantly, it was an opportunity to make friends with the children of wealthy families. Gracious Hearts College was for the high class alone. The most popular girls were Favy, Susie, and Jenzie. Their real names were Favor, Susan, and Generous, but they gave themselves stylish nicknames. They were in their 20s, beautiful, fashionable, and admired by all. Every girl in the village wanted to look like them. They were nicknamed the iPhone Baddies because whenever a new iPhone was released, they were always the first to buy it. From the days of the iPhone 6 up to the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max, they never miss a release. Their obsession with iPhones made them famous. Villagers admired iPhones for their cameras and unique features, but most people couldn't afford them. So, seeing the 3 girls flaunting the newest iPhones earned them respect. Even the children of the wealthy didn't always have iPhones. Strangely, the iPhone Baddies didn't come from rich families. Their parents weren't well off, and people wondered where they got all that money. Still, the 3 girls carried themselves with pride, bragging about being the only ones in the village with the latest phones. Some girls even saved money for years just to join them, but the requirement was strict. You had to own the latest iPhone model. One day, the iPhone Baddies walked across the school compound, as usual attracting all the attention. Other students stared like they were celebrities. When people waved at them, the girls ignored them, flaunting their iPhones. Then, a pretty girl named Nancy gathered her courage and approached them. "Hi, girls, my name is Nancy. I admire your group so much. I have all the qualities to become an iPhone baddie. I dress well, I speak well, and I carry myself with class." The 3 admired her boldness. It had been a long time since someone had asked to join. Susie asked, "Okay, girl, what phone are you using?" Nancy proudly pulled out her iPhone 7 Plus, which she had saved 6 months to buy. The iPhone Baddies burst into uncontrollable laughter. They laughed so hard they nearly fell over. Nancy stood there confused, wondering if she had bought a fake phone. "What's the matter?" she asked. "Girl, are you serious?" Favy shouted, snatching the phone. "You want to join us with an iPhone 7 Plus? Even my maid uses an iPhone 11 Pro Max. You're not qualified. Move away." Humiliated, Nancy walked away in tears. The students laughed at her for daring to dream of joining the iPhone Baddies. The 3 girls then began chanting their slogan, "If you know, 3 cameras clear." The crowd echoed after them, cheering. The iPhone Baddies were full of arrogance. They believed no one could measure up to them. Everywhere they went, they bragged, saying things like, "Just my phone could buy your entire generation. Do you think it's easy to own an iPhone 16 Pro Max?" But while people admired their glamour, no one knew the truth about what they secretly did to get the money for their expensive lifestyle. The iPhone Baddies never did their dirty business in their own village because they knew they would be exposed. Instead, every Friday night, they sneaked into a neighboring village. There, they dressed up in their fanciest clothes, went to the big club, and lured rich men for money. That was how they funded their lifestyle, their hair, bags, shoes, and, of course, their precious iPhones. They had been doing this for a long time and had no plans of stopping. In their neighboring village, they weren't known as the iPhone Baddies. People called them HK girls. Every man in that village knew them, but back home, no one had the slightest idea. They kept their secret perfectly, until fate exposed them. One day, a girl named Janet, who lived in that neighboring village, moved to their village and enrolled at Gracious Hearts College. She was shocked to see the iPhone Baddies being respected like royalty. She recognized them immediately as the same HK girls she had seen in the clubs. At first, she thought she might be mistaken, but they looked exactly the same. Janet decided to confront them. One afternoon, she walked up to them. Before she could say anything, the iPhone Baddies shouted their slogan, "If you know, 3 cameras clear." They ignored her because she held an Android phone, mocking her and telling her to leave. Favy sneered. "Girl, why are you following us around? Are you a beggar? You want money, right? Please disappear." Janet felt humiliated and angry. She promised herself she would teach them a big lesson. That Friday night, she traveled back to her old village. She went to the club, and just as she expected, the iPhone baddies were there, dancing, drinking, and entertaining men. Quietly, she pulled out her phone and recorded everything. Smiling, she left the club with all the evidence she needed. The next morning at school, the iPhone baddies flaunted their iPhones as usual. Suddenly, Janet gathered the entire student body. "Everyone come. They have been exposed," she shouted. The students looked confused. "Who?" "The iPhone baddies," Janet said firmly. Even the baddies themselves were confused at first. Janet stood tall and declared, "You all respect these girls and dream to be like them. But today I'll show you the truth. Have you ever wondered how they afford all their luxury when they come from poor families?" The crowd grew silent. Some nodded in agreement. "They are HK girls," Janet revealed. "They sneak to my former village every Friday night, go to the club, and sleep with men for money." "That's a lie," Susie shouted. "It's not a lie," Janet replied calmly. She pulled out her phone and played the video. Gasps filled the schoolyard. Students stared in shock as the truth unfolded before their eyes. The admiration and respect instantly turned into disgust. "You're nothing but cheap mistresses," some shouted. "Without your phones, you're nothing." The iPhone baddies were overwhelmed with shame. They ran out of the school in tears and didn't return for weeks. Soon, the entire village heard the news. Their parents confiscated their phones and scolded them bitterly. Once admired, the girls were now mocked and rejected everywhere they went. One day, the three met at the village stream, broken and humiliated. Their reputation was ruined, and their lives felt meaningless. "Let's run away," Favy whispered. "Let's start a new life in the city." The others agreed. That night, they stole back their phones from their parents' lockers, met the village park, and boarded a bus to the city. When they arrived, they rented a single room with the little money they had. Ironically, their neighbors in the city also noticed their flashy iPhones. People wondered how girls living in a crowded apartment with 10 families could be holding the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max. Once again, they were nicknamed the iPhone baddies. They didn't care. They loved the title. So they continued, moving from club to club, looking for customers. The cycle went on. The girls only wanted one thing: to afford their luxury wigs, clothes, and designer bags. They didn't care about the tiny room they lived in, nor did they care whether they ate well. Every bit of their money went into their looks. One day, Susie brought news to the others. "Girls, the iPhone 18 Pro Max has just been released." They screamed in excitement. Their obsession flared up again. They had to get it at all costs. So they returned to their usual aqua business. They began sleeping with different men, desperate to save up for the new iPhone. But no matter how hard they tried, their money wasn't enough. Then one day, a fellow street girl told them about a wealthy man who wanted a threesome and was willing to pay handsomely. The baddies didn't think twice. They bought flashy clothes, dressed elegantly, and rushed to meet him at a hotel. When they arrived, the man looked incredibly rich. Excited, the girls gave him their all, trying every trick and style they knew to please him, hoping for extra payment. Eventually, exhausted, they fell asleep. When they woke up, the man was gone. But on the table, there was a huge pile of money. Overjoyed, they grabbed it and left. Without wasting a moment, they bought the latest iPhone 18 Pro Max and flaunted it everywhere. For 3 months, they enjoyed their glory. But then disaster struck. One night, while they were asleep, Jenzie suddenly screamed. Something was crawling out of her body. She checked and saw maggots crawling out of her private part. Horrified, she woke the others. They checked themselves, and to their horror, the same thing was happening to them. "We've been used," Jenzie cried. In panic, they boiled hot water and sat on it, hoping it would stop. But the maggots only increased and the foul smell worsened. Soon, Their neighbors noticed. The news spread quickly. The famous iPhone baddies were rotting from the inside. The girls cried and prayed, but nothing helped. They sold their precious iPhones just to pay for treatments. They went from one hospital to another, but every doctor told them nothing was medically wrong. Yet the maggots kept crawling out day and night. Shamed, rejected, and tormented, the girls carried their curse for the rest of their lives. The end.